Jan Logie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On a rather different note, I want to talk about the abuse of children in state care. That we know in New Zealand between the 1950s and the 1980s, more than 100,000 children were taken from their families, and not only because they weren't safe in their families, but because at times their families were poor, or their mother was a sole mother, or blatant racism. And these children were put into residences. Over half of these children were Māori, and that has had a profound impact on the future, the collective future of iwi across this country, because so many of those children we hear were abused. They were emotionally abused, they were deprived, they were beaten, they had the people who were supposedly given care of them telling them other children to beat them, and being beaten in front of the people that were given the authority to care for them. These children were sexually abused, and I've heard from some people of horrific stories of using electricity to abuse these babies who were in our collective care as a country. And the impact on us as a society of that is not understood. This is 100,000 children potentially who were either directly impacted or saw that happening around them. And we have had no process as a country for those stories to be told, for us to hear, for us to understand. We've heard from our Commissioner for Children that I think 83% of children currently, or people in our prisons at the moment, have at some time been in care. The impact of this is so deeply profound, and we are not talking about it. And I am not sheeting this in this speech home solely to this national government. That would be ridiculous. I do want to say that this first started to be talked about when people went to lawyers to try and get their cases addressed, is my understanding, in the 2000s. And that process was fraught. And that in fact, when the first cases went to court in 2006, that it was the full weight of MSD and the Ministry of Health and the range of ministries against these people who had been abused in care. And I just want to take a minute for people to think about that the weight of our state stood against these people trying to get recognition for what harm had been done to them. And then in 2008 even, that the main law firm that was supporting these people had the legal aid withdrawn from them. How extraordinary is that, to try and shut down the processes? And then it was only when the Human Rights Commission and then international attention came onto this absolute shame, that we got this confidential listening service, which is not independent, that is partial, we hear from the minister, but is not independent, is still run by the state across the. It was run by a judge, but you went through MSD. The system is the judge herself has said she wants an independent system, that this is not independent, that we do need an independent. While you may say impartial, we do not have independence, and that people have not come forward. I have spoken to many people that have not come to this system because they do not want to go to the state. They perceive it as the state, and the minister can sit there and shake her head, but if you're not referencing your experience to theirs, then you are part of the problem. Minister, minister. This should be grounded in their experience. And the minister has been seen to be protecting the institution of the state rather than the needs of these people that have been so unfairly harmed by the state. And when Judge Henwood has said that the minister...
The member's time has expired.
The Honourable